In this video, I'll be turning 25 LEGO base plates into a massive LEGO aquarium, full of tons of exhibits and over 100 animals. Let the challenge begin. I actually visited the Monterey Bay Aquarium to connect with the animals and get some inspiration for my own LEGO aquarium. We'll start by fencing in the 25 base plates so the fish can't escape. In the front, I'll tile off an area for the entrance and build 2 tanks that guests will walk through as they enter. After filling each tank with sand and seaweed, I release some colorful fish, a few lobsters, a pair of jellyfish, and a starfish into the tanks to be the official guest greeters. Then I closed off the tops of the tanks and added a glass tunnel over the pathway to connect them. And of course, we need to build a sign to place above the entrance. I chose the name Brick Bay and added a bunch of coral and kelp pieces around the edges. I also designed some sandy ocean floor pillars and placed them on top of the tanks to hold up the sign. Now all that's left is to finish off the courtyard where a dolphin fountain makes the perfect centerpiece. I'll also add in some benches where guests can sit and enjoy the view. I'll place 2 minifigures on either side of the tunnel to scan tickets as guests enter. Now we can finally start working on the first enclosure for bottlenose dolphins. We can start by turning this grassy area next to the entrance into water. After outlining the shape of the exhibit with these gray tiles, I'll place down glass walls around the whole enclosure. I'm also going to add a platform across the middle of the tank for future dolphin training sessions. Now it's time to add in the dolphins. It looks like somebody's cell phone is the dolphin's new favorite toy. For the main attraction in this exhibit, I designed a mechanism that allows guests to participate in training sessions from outside the glass. Dolphins can be trained to do all kinds of flips and tricks that mimic their natural behaviors in the wild. Yeah, that one felt personal. And with that, our first enclosure is complete. Across from the dolphins, I'm going to build a touch pool, which is one of the few places in the aquarium where you can have direct contact with the animals. And with the help of my friend MKMBrick, we'll create a low wall for easy access. Then I'll fill in the touch pool with blue studs before releasing the animals into the water. This pool will contain 4 massive stingrays, a shark, and a few starfish. What could go wrong? To the left of the entrance, I'm going to build an exhibit that mirrors the dolphin enclosure. We can release a gray reef shark into the tank as well as a sawfish, which looks like a shark but is actually a type of ray. Oh, and make sure to subscribe or you'll end up swimming in here with the sharks. The next exhibit will be for alligators, the aquarium's first semi-aquatic animal. We'll start by sectioning off the area with a glass wall, then creating a river that runs the full length of the enclosure. We'll add in a variety of plants along the riverbanks to give it a swampy feel. Now we can add in the adult alligators throughout the enclosure while the baby gators take cover under the brush. The front of the aquarium is filling up fast, so let's build a series of exhibits along the sides. Starting with the seal exhibit. I used standard glass walls on 2 sides of the enclosure, then built a special viewing area with huge arched windows and a set of steps leading up the side to an elevated feeding platform. The exhibit will be home to 2 adult seals and 3 rescued pups. I used blue and tan plates, then layered these clear blue tiles over the top to give the illusion of deep ocean water and shallower water near the shore. I wanted this exhibit to connect to an open ocean pen, similar to what we saw at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Now all that's left is to create a rocky shore and island for seals to rest on. Once the seals have been introduced, guests can head over to the special viewing area and get eye to eye with these playful marine animals. This area also gives them front row seats during feeding time as trainers toss tasty fish down to the waiting seals. The next area will house sea turtles, penguins, and flamingos. I got to swim with some wild sea turtles in Hawaii last year, which was an amazing experience. So of course, I had to add them to my own LEGO aquarium. I'll use these tan plates to create a sandy ocean floor and these blue glass pieces to give guests an underwater view of the turtles. Next, I'll deck the tank out with coral and plenty of seagrass for the sea turtles to munch on. Now we can let our 4 turtles start cruising around their habitat. The open space next door will be a perfect spot for a penguin enclosure. These penguins live in the freezing waters of Antarctica. So let's use a combination of white bricks and clear glass to give this enclosure an icy ambiance. After filling the tank with bright blue water, I designed a floating ice sheet for the center of the penguin's habitat. If guests are lucky, they might even catch the penguins sliding around on their bellies to move across the ice. Waddling through the snow isn't nearly as effective. The third and final exhibit in this row will be for another water-loving bird, flamingos. After building up the pink-capped walls, I'll form a pond at the very center. Next, I'll place down some bushes and a small palm tree to fill out the land around the water. These flamingos seem pretty content in their new habitat, and it looks like they've even started to build a mud nest to lay their eggs in. Now let's head back to the opposite side of the aquarium to build a polar bear exhibit for an adult female and her cub. I'll cover one half of the enclosure in a giant ice sheet and fill in another half with water. Polar bears are technically land predators since they hunt seals on ice, but they're known for being excellent swimmers. I'm also going to add in a dugout in the back corner since females typically give birth to their cubs in snowy dens. Now let's add in some enrichment toys to keep the polar bears and guests entertained. But this mom can't teach her cub to hunt on tires, so good thing there's some live prey available just next door. With 9 outdoor enclosures complete, it's time to turn our attention to this giant open space at the center. I want to create a series of indoor tanks for some of the smaller fish and crustacean species. So I took some inspiration from my visit to the Monterey Bay Aquarium, which was built inside of an old fish cannery building. Since this building will be directly in front of the main entrance tunnel, I'm going to create a pair of matching L-shaped tanks to help funnel guests into the building. I'll fill it up with a bunch of coral and seagrass, as well as a handful of sea life. The plan is to build the tanks into the front walls of the building so that they're visible from both inside and outside. Let's use these red bricks to start outlining the boundaries of the building. I'll use these brown tiles for the floor, leaving space for each of the 11 tanks that I plan to build. With the glass prepped, it's time to start adding in our first species to the tanks on the left side of the building. The first tank will be home to 3 fish with some pretty cool colors and patterns. Their white bodies are covered in black stripes and yellow highlights. The next tank over will house an entire herd of seahorses. They use their tails to cling tightly to the coral and seagrass around them. They also have excellent camouflage, which helps these little guys hide from predators. Let me know if you're able to find all 6 seahorses hiding in the tank. I filled another tank with curious hermit crabs who spend most of their time eating and looking for upgraded shells in the sand. And I filled the final tank with a school of these weird spinny fish that just swim in circles all day. I got the inspiration for this exhibit directly from the aquarium. They had a school of these sardines that just swam around and around in a tank in the ceiling, where each fish was basically just following its neighbor in a never-ending circle. And with that, the left side of the building is complete. Now I'm going to fill in the tanks on the right side of the building, starting with the pair of axolotls. The tank looks pretty different from all the other habitats I've designed because they're the only freshwater species in the building. In the next tank over, I created a habitat for the ocean's most recognizable fish species, the clownfish. And of course, this tank wouldn't be complete without an anemone to hide in. The third tank will be home to these yellow fish with blue stripes. They look a lot like a species called the regal angelfish, but LEGO calls them flounders. Yeah, those are definitely not the same species, but their chubby little faces actually remind me more of a pufferfish. In the final tank, I added a bunch of starfish and gave them free rein to climb all over the glass walls. 8 out of the 11 tanks in this building are done. Let's use these last 3 tanks in the middle of the building for some of the ocean's more mysterious species. First up is the anglerfish. These guys look like they're straight out of a horror movie with their crazy teeth and light up lure on the front of their heads. Up next is the jellyfish tank, which is one of my favorite exhibits to look at in real life. There's something relaxing about watching them move slowly around their tank. I reserved the final tank for one of the most impressive sea creatures yet, a giant octopus. I built a rocky cave in the back of the tank for the octopus to camouflage in. Turns out octopus are serious escape artists, so we better close in this building. I went with a 2-story design, mixing tan and gray bricks with some red accents for the walls. I wanted the building to feel open and bright inside, so I integrated a series of skylights into the roof. Off the back of the building, I'm going to create 2 animal enclosures on either side of the exit tunnel. The first will be an exhibit for sea otters, by far the cutest animals in the entire aquarium. After enclosing the area in glass, I filled the exhibit halfway full with water to give guests a split view of the otters floating on the surface and diving underwater. I added transparent blue tiles to finish off the water surface, then added in 5 playful sea otters. To finish off the exhibit, I built a rock structure to give these otters a place to crack clamshells open. The enclosure on the opposite side of the tunnel will be home to the sea otters' freshwater cousins, the river otters, and a couple of beavers. I'll start by building a river across the full length of the exhibit, then adding in some plants along the banks. Now it's time to place in the animals. While the river otters frolic and play, the beavers can work on chewing down some logs and using leftover sticks to build the dam. We'll use the remaining space along the fence line for the largest and most dangerous ocean predators, including great white sharks, some deep ocean sharks and rays, and orcas. I'll build the 2 shark tanks first using double-stacked glass panels to make the tanks 2 stories tall. In the center tank, I'll place down a hammerhead shark, tiger shark, manta ray, and a rare albino shark at different depths. This mixed species tank was directly inspired by the open ocean exhibit at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, which had all kinds of sharks, rays, and fish coexisting together. In the corner tank, I'll add in 2 ginormous great white sharks. As one of the ocean's top predators, they definitely deserve their own space since they'll eat just about anything that fits in their mouth. Next, I topped off the pathway between tanks with a glass tunnel to give guests the illusion of being underwater with these deep ocean predators. Once the back walls are added in, I finish off the great white tank with a rock formation to fill in the empty space in there enclosure. Now let's use the last remaining space to build one final exhibit for a pair of orcas. I'm going to place down a set of elevated seating areas on both ends of the enclosure. I'll also add in a platform for the trainers to stand on. These orcas have all kinds of impressive tricks to show off, from acrobatic flips to powerful tail slaps. With all the enclosures complete, let's add in a gift shop. Like the aquarium I visited in real life, I stocked up the shop with a variety of stuffed animals and treats, then placed down a cashier ready to help the guests with their purchases. And of course, we need to add in a bathroom. It even comes with a nice view of the otter exhibit while you take care of business. There's still 2 unused grassy areas near the front entrance, so I'll build a small seating area in front of the coral reef tank where guests can eat lunch with the fish. But if guests didn't bring their own meal, they can order from the food court next door, just like I did in Monterey. There's a variety of food options on the menu, but there's also a secret seafood special where guests can catch their own fish and have it prepared on site. All that's left is to fill up the park with guests so they can start enjoying the touch pool, watching animal training sessions, and getting up close views of Earth's water-loving creatures. And with that, Brick Bay is officially complete. Every inch is jam-packed with sights and sounds of nature, and I'm really happy with how the entire thing turned out. If you enjoyed this build, be sure to check out the aquarium I built with Bauer Bricks. I hid Chad in multiple spots throughout his park, so let me know all the places you were able to find him in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and stay awesome.